Yes, guys, what's going on? Adam McCullough here for Stretford Paddock. Manchester United have beaten Brighton 3-2. I'm here with Freddy. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel. Links in the description. Freddy Quinne Comedy. Join us on the watch along. We saw Manchester United beat Brighton 3-2 after a goal which came after the full-time whistle, kind of, for Manchester United. It was an epic roller coaster of a ride. Freddie, what did you make of that?
I don't know what's just happened. I feel like I've robbed a bank. It's amazing, isn't it? Look, don't get me wrong. I'm dead happy that we've won, and I'm dead happy the manner in which we've won as well just feels great. But let's be honest, we're papering over some massive cracks here because we should, in all likelihood, be talking about two really dodgy-looking performances against Palace and Brighton. And I think it's going to, it's going to make it feel a bit more palatable to the fan base and stuff. But we've got some real problems.
What are those problems? Are they down to fitness, sharpness, lack of a pre-season, or do they go deeper than that?
I think it's a mixture of everything. I think it's coming together a bit like a perfect storm, to be honest with you. Fitness and lack of a pre-season is hugely concerning. If you look at a lot of the players, they don't look even close to being fit. Bruno Fernandes has looked knackered since he's come back in both of his games. But I think Solskjaer also has to take a bit of the flack here because he's not rotating his team well enough. Do you know what I mean? It's the same sort of players week in, week out. Lindelof gets a game again. I mean, don't get me wrong, he played all right today, but surely you'd like to see Bailly come in. There was no Dan James on the bench. There was no Igalo on the bench. So you're looking, I mean, when it was, 2-2 or whatever, you're looking and you're thinking, well, who've we got that can change the game? Who've we got that can make the difference for us? We don't have the squad depth, and I think that's what's really making it difficult for us at the moment.
There may have been a few messages to the board with that bench as well, particularly, especially when you look at it, like you say, no James, no Igalo, who, probably average themselves, but we just didn't have those options to change it off the bench. And Ollie kind of had his hands tied there. In terms of the game, how did you feel it went for us? Because Brighton, they looked really good at times, didn't they?
Let's be honest, we were the second best team. Even when it looked like we were going to get a draw, it still looked like we'd gotten away with it almost. The amount of chances that Brighton had down our right hand side was baffling. And during the watch along, from the beginning of the second half, we were screaming about that right hand side, and there were maybe 5 or 6 absolute gilt edge opportunities, and nothing was done. Now, whether or not that's because we don't have the players to solve the problem that's being posed to us tactically, or whether or not it's just that Ole doesn't know what to do. I don't know what the problem is, but we'd be kidding ourselves if we went, last minute goal, and pretended like the problems weren't there.
It's true. Because the performance itself, it would have been one of them great games you would have loved to have been at. As a neutral and even as a Man United fan, to come out of there thinking, we've just won that. Like, you would have come out of there bouncing, but then when you would have sat down, you would have thought, well, the performance wasn't great. We didn't look too good. Although, when we got those players into the final third, it looked like we could open them up at will at times, because we mentioned them hitting the post however many times. We felt like we had that many goals disallowed for offside, and there was a few times where Rashford holds his run, United have the win, and it probably looks a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where I'm so happy that I'm not one of those people that leaves 10 minutes before, so like the parking, get away early type thing, because you miss stuff like this. Yeah, we look great going forward, but we know we look great going forward. We've got some amazing attacking players, but defensively, we're shocking. We're absolutely dreadful. You look at what happened against Palace, and it was
5 goals conceded in 2 games.
Yeah, and it should have been a lot more. Don't get me wrong. Do you know what I mean? You look at what happened against Palace, and you had Luke Shaw and you had Lindelof, who both had really poor games. Today it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who looked really bad at times, and Luke Shaw again didn't cover himself in glory. It's worrying, do you know? Because we're clearly a club now that isn't going to, get the checkbook out willy-nilly. So you think, how are we going to solve these problems?
You mentioned the checkbook there now. Do you think, I know the fans, we all kind of feel this kind of negative cloud over the summer. Do you think that's maybe rubbed off onto the players? Could that be an explanation for what we've seen, or is that making too many excuses for them?
I think he's making too many excuses for them. I don't know about this. Like, the professionals, do you know what I mean? They've dealt with it their whole careers and stuff. I can kind of see where people are coming from, but I don't think it can possibly account for the level of bad performances that we're seeing. All right, we're not, we might not get Sancho. He's a £100 million player, and I can't begin to understand the complexities of a £100 million deal. But you look at somebody like Tellez on the left-hand side, who would 100% improve our team, who would come in as a first-team player. We can get him for 20 million quid. He wants to come. Porto want to sell him. We need to buy him. And yet we still can't get a deal done. That's the kind of thing that frustrates me. I'm not one of those fans that thinks we need to spend 100 million quid every transfer window and buy the very best players. I understand that sometimes the market dictates that you just can't do that. But you tell me, there isn't a top-tier club in any of the big leagues that if they could buy a first-team player for 20 million quid, they would snap at the chance. That's a bargain, however you look at it.
100% it is. Obviously, we looked at that game. Important 3 points. Hopefully, that can help us get that winning feeling back and build some confidence up. What would your message be to the board with these last weeks remaining of the window?
Look, I might be a doom merchant here, and it might galvanise the team. A last-minute win like that can completely change morale, and it could be just the kickstart that we need. But realistically, if you need to give a message to the board, it is not to ignore the problems that this squad has and not to be blind to the improvements that everyone around us has made. If you look at, we're miles away, unfortunately, from City and Liverpool. And during this transfer window, you would expect or hope us to catch up to them. And as far as I'm concerned, as it stands, they've just pulled away from us further. You got Chelsea, who we were level on points with last season. They've bought an army of players, incredible players. And if they gel, what a force they're going to be. Then you look at your likes of Tottenham, who've bought players who could definitely change things for them. You look at Everton signing James Rodriguez. You look at Wolves and the players they've bought. Even Arsenal bringing in centre-backs. We are way closer to the chasing pack than we are to the people at the top. And we are massively in danger of losing out on Champions League football unless we start to improve our squad.
100%. And that's probably the perfect note to end it on. One thing before you go, your man of the match?
Post. Yeah, the woodwork. I would say the woodwork. I think Harry Maguire had a great game.
Yeah, so the woodwork saved our game today. Hopefully Woodward can save our summer, otherwise it's going to be a sticky one for him. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to Stretford Paddock. We'll see you in a bit.